One of the hardest things for a speaker to do, because speakers speak in front of people, right? Performers on stage are in front of people, so they have automatic connection to human beings if you're good on stage, right? So what happens when you don't have people? What happens when you're doing a webinar or you're talking to a camera like I'm doing today? There's nobody, here to connect to. So I've got to connect through the lens. If you're doing a webinar, you've got to connect to the listeners on the other end of that. It's a very simple technique. You've got to really master this because, look, as a speaker, as a performer, you can't be in all places at all times. And you can't always have a human being right there to connect to. So it is your job as a speaker, when you don't have a human to connect to create that connection, to put somebody on the other end of that lens, like I have to do today, and actually speak to them, one person. A lot of times when you're speaking in front of a camera, like I'm doing today, you're speaking to thousands and maybe 1 million people, You cannot connect to 1 million people. You cannot connect to 1,000 people, but you can connect to one person. You have to put another person over there on the other end of this lens, and you have to speak to them. And you have to imagine seeing their reaction and their head nods and their smiles when you're talking, their reactions. That's all I'm doing right now, right? I can see a person that I'm connecting to. I'm very specific on who that person is, and I'm speaking to them. And I can see them nodding their head, and I can see them going, I don't agree with you, Bo. I do agree with you, Bo. Your job as a speaker, when you don't have human beings in front of you, is to be very creative and be as great as a connector as you are on stage in front of real human beings as you are in front of the camera. You have to be able to do this. And it just takes some creative thought. And one more tip I'll give you on that. Be very, very specific on who you're speaking to. Who is that one person? Is it your dad? That may not be with us any longer. A lot of times that's who it is for me. My dad is no longer living, but if I talk to my dad, I remember him and I connect with him. And the audience on the other end, they think you're only connecting to them, but you've never seen these people before. So how could that be? The audience feels your connection, and in this case, they feel the connection to my dad. Very specific for me, but it's very universal for the audience. So think of, who do you love to talk to? Or who would you love to talk to who's maybe not with us anymore? Who would you love to have a conversation with whom you've never met or who might not be alive anymore? Choose that person, and that's specifics that you're speaking to. Your audience feels the warmth and they feel like you're only speaking to them. Try those things, and that'll really help.